let's spend a little time on intention and ethics, because you have this
Oh, yeah.
paragraph where you say, for this discourse, meaning the dream work,
Well,
not to lead you
anything.
fair for any discourse. This is just from that section of
Yes,
the book, but
exactly.
for these practices, not to
Mm-hmm.
lead you astray and to guard against self-deception and inattention, understand that ethics are essential. They are something that are stressed in all the texts and are of significant importance. They are perhaps the hardest of the inner practices. Well, elaborate on what the texts stress about ethics and why they would be so important in this context, or why they'd be some of the hardest practices. I find ethics to kind of come fairly natural.
For most people. Until you put something in front of them that is their precious. And then they get obsessed. And then it doesn't stop because I'm really close. And if you don't understand how important this is and how close I am to this, well, I just must go do this. This is what I'm talking about. This actually becomes talk to most artists that are working on a project that they got some funding for, and now they need more funding, but they don't have it. Ask them where they're getting that money from. And you start to hear some things coming out that are a little dicey, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm saying. It becomes this, you know what? I want to do this experiment with lead and mercury. And I live in an apartment building, but I really need to do it, right? Because I think this one little thing will create that piece that will answer this. And I don't have any other place to do it. I need to do it, right? So now what are you doing? You're shitting in your environment, right? You're pouring mercury down the drain. Why? Because it's important to you. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's like, and you won't even see it. That's where I'm saying it's slippery because of the importance of the work that you want to see. There's with Oppenheimer, the film, right? That just came out. So this idea of what they call like mission creep, you're on to one thing. So as we all know, if you've seen the movie or the history of it, right? The bomb was built to defeat the Nazis because the Nazis were in the race to do it. However, they were out of the war earlier and they're still building the bomb. We don't need the bomb. War's over. Japan's about to go under, right? There's all these thoughts, well, no, it's going to be a really, right, all the justification for it. But it becomes this thing that once you start something and it has a momentum to it, and there's more than one person involved, it will continue. And this is where it becomes a very hard thing to maintain that ethic. And you hear it in the movies. You'll hear it in the documentaries where they go, we really should have stopped. And it's like, well, how do you stop something with this momentum? And that momentum is, all the external factors, patriotism, the energy you put into this, the idea that you're going to succeed on something that nobody has ever done before, right? Mm-hmm. Ethics kind of gets a little squishy there. And then the justifications of it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and believe me, it's like in alchemy, in laboratory practice, you are working with potentially, it depends upon what you're doing and where you're going, really toxic materials, right? And so this is something a lot of folks don't necessarily think about. Where is that going? Where are those fumes going? Where are you working, right? And that's what I'm saying about the ethics. Are you concerned for your community 20 years from now with your toxic dump that you just made?
Right.
Right. And you can, and I tell you, you will ask folks, how are you dealing with it? Well, it's a small enough amount and it disperses. Well, yeah, that's true, except look where you're living and all the other factories here that are dispersing, right? You may only think you're just one drop, but, think about it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean. So yes, on an immediate level, day-to-day engaging with people, yes, ethics is a pretty easy thing to do. You treat people respectfully and you're pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Don't take what's not yours and share. You'll probably be all right. It's these other things as you start pushing into areas that are new, exploratory. Ego is got to be one of the biggest drivers in this, right? Because you could be You know what everybody knows what I
Yeah,
mean by
yeah.
this. And so
Yes.
that's where the ethics becomes important. And you need to think about it, what your impact on what you're doing is now, but especially if you're doing like chemical work, right? What is the impact in your neighborhood 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now? And just make sure you're cleaning up your mess properly.
Right.
You know?
Fair enough. Easy enough. And another kind of adjacent thing I wanted to ask you about was energy potency applied to our actions. It's something that comes up a couple of times in the book, but
Mhm.
how do we put the most energetic potency into the right actions? Because it's not a one-to-one correlation between action and the energy that's infused with it, but we want to get the most energy into the most beneficial
Mhm.
activities in our lives.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure I understand the question. Is it like, how do you access this, or how do you do this?
How do you infuse the right actions with the greatest amount of energetic potential?
Oh, well, I honestly think it's by, it's going to be circular here, so forgive me. It's by actually finding an action that is really correct and good. It almost answers itself, and then you just have to do it with that intent. I mean, I also mentioned this in the book. I break down it's basically how karma is defined, right? Karma is,
Okay,
the
yeah.
definition of karma literally is just action, right? It is the action. So what are the 4 rules of action, right? It's like, well, if you do something, a result will occur, right? I think we can all agree with that. You throw a rock against the window most likely will break, right? And then there's consequences that come from that, right? So an action causes a result, right? So if you intend to do an action, right, that intensifies it. So the 4 laws, right?
Right, that's what I'm getting at. The intention application
Right.
makes it more potent.
More potent. Like, I intend to do this, right? Like, if all of a sudden you found out that, like, as a good action, something you did ended up giving somebody like $10 more than what they were expecting, but you didn't know it, you didn't plan on it, you didn't think about it, whatever. It's still a very good action, right? But it's not as potent because you didn't really think about doing it, and then you didn't go do it, right? It just happened. But it's still a good action and you were involved in it, so you'll get some of the wash back, right? So every action has a result. If you see something that has a result, or see something present, you know it has a previous action that caused it, right? Things don't come out of nowhere, in other words, right? If you see an apple, you know that there's probably an apple tree involved somewhere.
Yes, fair enough.
Right? So that's what it is. So those are the first 2. The other one is like creates like, right? So goats come from goats, trees come from trees, good actions come from good actions, bad actions come from bad actions. It's just very simple, right? So that's the third one. And the fourth one is everything expands, right? So an action you do will constantly expand out and have continual repercussions, right? So you throw that rock against the window, it breaks. Well, what happens next? Probably the neighbor comes out and starts yelling at you, right? Why did you break my window? Now you have to go replace it. You get into an argument with that person, right? You go, fuck you. No, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Does this escalate into something? A fun way to look at this are to watch movies and to look for the key action that changes the direction of the hero. And then imagine if that action didn't happen, would you have the movie? Right?
Right.
Perfect example, the first Spider-Man, right? Where he's fighting in the ring and the guy is cheating him out of the money he won. And then the guy's about to be robbed. And our hero Spider-Man does nothing to prevent the robbery, right? If he prevented that robbery, well, his father wouldn't have been murdered.
Right. Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben, whoever. I don't know the myth, but I know there's a father type figure. But this is what I'm saying. This is that idea of amplification, right? Of actions expand, right? A stitch in time saves 9 idea. So those are the 4 actions. Those are the 4 rules of it. If you consciously engage all 4, right? I plan to do this. This is how you intensify the action. You plan it, you do it. When it succeeds, you go, yay. And you say to yourself, if I had a chance to do it again, I would do it again. That is the most intensifying thing you can do to any action. Any one of those things missing, right, it weakens the action. Right? I don't intend it, or I did it. Oh, I wish I didn't. You know, this type of thing. And the same thing if it's bad. You can imagine if you were driving and you hit somebody, that's really pretty bad. Right? But you didn't aim your car toward them to do this. You didn't plan it a week ago. And when it happened, you regretted it. Oh man, I hit this guy. Shit. You know, I'll never do that again. These all dampen the impact of that action. Right?
Interesting.
If you were to say, however, this guy crosses the street every day at this time, I'm going to get my car, I'm going to hit the guy. Then you hit the guy and you go, yay. And you go, yeah, okay, he's dead. If I had a chance to do it again, yep, I'd do it all again.
And you mean like the karmic or energetic impact, because even an accident, if you hit someone's kid, well, that's pretty impactful.
That's right.
For them.
That's right. And you.
Right.
I mean, I know I would really feel very, very bad, even if there were no legal repercussions, that some stupid, mindless activity I did injured somebody. I'm sorry. That, I mean, people feel bad about that. And so that does have an impact. Am I a bad person now? How did you deal with that accident? You know?
Well, intent is built into our legal system.
Yes, it is.
But the action, of course, you know, I don't know how the impact is dampened.
Karmically, we're speaking. We're speaking about what comes back to you in what you've done. That's what it's not a legal thing. It's not like, well, I didn't hurt him too bad and I didn't mean it. But that will soften a sentence. That will soften. It's like if it's obviously an accident, right? Through no one's fault, but yet the injury is there. You know, your insurance company is going to have to pay up and your rates will go up. There's a result to it, even though there may not be a criminal or what have you. Right? It still doesn't mean, it's like what I say. It's like if you take a hammer, right, a very neutral thing, and you throw it up in the air, right? That's an action. It comes down, it hits you in the head, it still hurts. It wasn't your intent to throw the hammer in the air to hit yourself in the head, but the damage is still done, right? You can't escape that, right? That will then unfold and continue on. But then the question becomes then, how do you react to that and how do you do it? You've done something that's wrong to somebody and they accuse you of it. You go, no, I didn't. It's because you put your foot under mine that I stepped on it. You know what I'm saying? You know those folks.
Yes. Can you believe it, people? A video clip and a peek into how that sweet THC sausage is made. For some people, I'm sure it's nice to put a face to the name, so I started making clips that are a little more YouTube friendly than the full show tends to be. Get the full show on any podcasting platform. I prefer to keep it audio only, so we have a more decentralized distribution for a controversial show, and also so I can edit out the ums and ahs and barking dogs and all the things that happen when a person records in their home environment. And then if you really like the show, you can sign up for THC Plus, and instead of 1 hour interviews, you get the full 2 hour interview for just $8. I think that's a better deal, more of a win-win than asking you to support the show by booking a therapy session or buying generic Viagra. It's getting weird out there, folks. So just go to the highersidechats.com or click the link at the top of any set of show notes and all your wildest dreams will come true. All right? All right.
The Higherside Chat Show.